12 months already. It's flown by and so much has happened. If you could pick one word out to describe it all, have you got one?
No. As you say, so much has happened in such a short period of time, or it feels a short period of time. The reality is another year's gone by, and it's been a great year, one of the best years of my career, certainly. Couldn't have dreamed of a better time, really, so be a load of good memories from this last season.
Have you had a chance yourself to just sit down and take it all in, maybe over the summer, and just sit back and reflect and think, wow?
No. I think in football you very rarely get the chance to reflect. I think it's only when I didn't even reflect really when my playing career ended, and I don't think it'll be any different. I think that there will be a time in my life when I look back and think that was a good journey, that was a great time. But I think the minute you start reflecting too much, you end up losing your focus on the future, and that's really what's important. So no, the summer was full of hard work. Now we're working as hard as we can to improve things, not just on the pitch but off the pitch. So the work will never stop.
If I take you back 12 months to around this sort of time when you're just starting to find out about the job, can you remember the emotions? I imagine you were being pulled backwards and forwards in different directions.
Yeah, very much so. It seems to be a theme throughout my career. Decisions have never been easy. They've always been very difficult, a huge emotional tie to this club, and I think that makes it very difficult, especially when you're leaving, whether you're coming back. I've always felt a massive pull here, whether that be a player or as a manager. So, yeah, when it was rumoured to be happening, it was something that I've spoke about before. I initially dismissed because I didn't feel it was right to break a contract and to walk away from the challenge that I'd taken on at Burnley. But then the longer it went on, the more I felt that the pull get greater and greater and greater, to the extent where I knew I had to make it happen.
Did you consult a lot of people about the decision, just people close to you? Or?
I discussed it with my wife, but apart from that, probably a couple of, I can't really remember now, but a couple of trusted friends. But in the main, I think the decision had to lie with me. And I was the one that made the decision, no one else. It wasn't, no one forced me to make the decision. It was very much my own call, and very much something that, as I said, the more I thought about it and the more time went on, the more I knew I couldn't turn it down, and I was really excited then once I got my head around it to see what we could achieve.
Did anyone you spoke to, did anyone tell you not to come back? It was the wrong decision, you shouldn't do it?
I think there was probably a few people that had tried out the usual cliches, never go back, or only look forward, you had a good time there. Why potentially ruin those feelings and the reputation that you had? Don't go back. So yeah, I can now picture in my head a few people saying that to me. I know my mum, who's no longer with us, would have said don't go back, because she was a firm believer in looking forward. So she was the person that I would have probably spoke first about, if she was still with us, about what should I do. And I probably wouldn't have taken her advice anyway, because I came back before as a player and she said, don't go back, purely from the fact she was of that train of thought that you need to have fresh challenges. So she would have been looking down going, what are you doing? But I'm pleased now I can say that it was the right decision.
What do you think she would think about what you've achieved over the last 12 months?
Well, there'd be no one more pleased. She'd be sat in that seat over there, and she would have, the minute I would have come back, she would have said, and I think she would have said, I think it was the right decision. She would have wanted me close to my family, and so she would have been very supportive of that. And I think to see the success the team's had, I think would have filled her with so much pride. So I'm really pleased that she will have seen what's unfolded and a new chapter in Bournemouth's history.
The promotion last season, I know it was your way of giving something back to the fans after all the hard times, but how much of it was, you speak of your mum there and your reasons for coming back, and the rest of your family as well, how much do you dedicate it to them as well?
Well, I think you are really what you end up being, what your parents, especially, and those closest to you, are sort of created in a sense. So I hope that now I sort of work and act on behalf of her and how she brought me up. So hopefully I'm doing her proud and doing things the right way. You can never guarantee you're going to be successful and win games of football, it's in the lap of the gods, and a lot of it's down to players and all the other things that you can't really control. But I certainly never lose my work ethic that she instilled in me, and my discipline, and hopefully I'll always be a decent person, which I think's all important. So yeah, I think the family side of things can't be ignored. This is a family club. It always has been. It's always been a place where players can develop in a good atmosphere, where the supporters will back young players and want to see good football, and we want to see kids come to the games, and the next generation of Bournemouth supporters is so important to the town. So it's always been a family club, and I think that runs right through. I came through the Centre of Excellence, and you see the kids turn up with their parents. I think that we should never lose those values.
You've spoken at length about the personal reasons behind coming back, but obviously there were football ones as well. Did one outweigh the other?
No, I think they were both very strong pulls. I mean, for me personally, off the pitch, there were huge pulls back here, which I've spoke about. But also footballing wise, I just felt we had a good squad. I felt there were obviously an ambitious owner. The club had moved ahead in terms of where it was when we left. Facilities had changed, the mood around the club had changed, the vision was there. So footballing wise, there were big pulls. And thankfully they were realised, because we did have a good squad and we did have a good pool of players to pick from, and there were good characters in the squad. That was another thing, really good people and good leaders within the squad. So all those things added to the melting pot made it a very attractive job.
Would you change anything about the last 12 months?
No, I changed a few defeats here and there, but that will never go. You'll always want to win every game. No, I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing from my managerial career. I really wouldn't, and that's the highs and the lows, because the lows are really important. The lows are where you look deep inside yourself and you find the courage to carry on, and you take the knocks, and then you grit your teeth and you come back out there and say, right, we're going to come out fighting. And no, you need the lows, you need the bad times to really enjoy and savour the good. So I wouldn't change a thing.
How easy was it to settle back in? It seemed, from a footballing point of view, quite smooth from the outside looking in.
I found it really smooth. I found it very easy to fit in again, and I think part of the reason with that, there's a lot of players here we already knew. There's about 9 or 10 players that we'd worked with before. I think that helped us, because I think inside the dressing room people would have said, this is what he wants, this is how he works. I think that can only help you. And the squad were absolutely outstanding from day one, and worked extremely hard, and we built momentum. And you need a bit of luck along the way. We got that, and the rest is history.
How about personally? Obviously, having moved yourself and your family up north, it's a big change, isn't it? Coming back in again, was it as if you'd never been away? Yeah,
it was. It was very easy to fit back into the way of life down here. And whenever you go to a new club, it's very difficult. You've got to find out the area, and you've got to find the people's mentality and where to live and all those other things. And this was just stepping back in as if we'd never been away.
How far, I think you spoke about it a little bit at the start, but how far do you feel you've come as a manager personally over the last 12 months?
I don't know. Difficult question. I've never really self-analysed myself in terms of how have I developed or changed too much. I think it's something that happens without you really knowing it. I think I definitely changed a lot during my time away, my 18 months away. I felt certain things that I needed to develop, and I think that process only helped it, going to a new club and a new environment. Coming back, it's gone so quickly, I don't think much has changed, but I think through time you'll evolve and change anyway. It's definitely, our methods always change, how we work always changes, because you're constantly self-analysing. But in terms of a manager, I'm not really too sure.
I know you've spoken about the different challenges this time around. Was there an easier time? Was it easier before? Is it easier now?
No, I think management gets harder. I think it's a lot harder from when I first came in, and the reason for that, not necessarily the job, but is the environment. The world's a lot smaller with the processes that are involved in the media, with the internet and radio stations, and the way fans can communicate. I think the job gets more difficult because everyone can express their opinion freer and easier, which in some senses is a real positive thing, because the fans can get their message across. Some senses it's difficult because it creates pressure for the decision maker, as in the manager. So I think every decision you make now is under more pressure than previously. I think it's scrutinised a lot closer. That aside, but barring off the pitch in terms of the expectations and all those other things I've just talked about, I think the job is the same. It's about working with players, trying to make them better on the training pitch. That's the enjoyable part from my perspective. Try and form a team and mould a team into a certain way of playing. I don't think that changes at all. I think it's just the outside pressures and the influences that have changed the job.
I think I know how you're going to answer this one, but can you allow yourself to look forward 12 months, having just reflected with us on the last 12 months? Dream, maybe, perhaps?
No, I don't tend to look that far ahead. I think it's incredibly difficult. My focus is always on the next game or the next couple of weeks and how we're going to prepare training and what we're going to do. I might not be in the job this time next year. I've got to try and constantly prove that I deserve to stay in the job and to build the team and build the club and take it forward. I'd never allow myself to look that far ahead because I think that in turn can lead to complacency. So I want to stay in the job. Hopefully I can reflect in a year. It means I've still got the position and still got the job, which will be great.
Do you have those worries, Eddie, when we're interviewing you, when we see you in the press, you remain very calm and collected? We know how pressurised the job is. Yeah. What worries do you have about the future, if any?
I think me personally, my personality, I always fear the sack. I think from the day I took the job, when I didn't think I'd get offered it, to the day we stayed up against Grimsby, those worries have never gone. Doesn't matter how many games you win or how successful you are or how many promotions you've got. It's history. It doesn't mean anything. What really is important is the future in the next 2, 3 games, 4 games. How are we going to adapt to life in the Championship long term? Are we going to be able to be strong enough to consolidate our position? So they're the fear of not doing well and not winning games drives me every day. And I think as long as I have that inside me all the time, hopefully we'll be successful.